Can we have a roll call, please?
Chairperson Nichols,
Present.
Vice Chair Lucas,
Present.
Trustee Case,
Present.
Trustee Markle,
Present.
Trustee Olivas.
Present.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. Item number 3, public comments. The public is invited at this time to provide comment on any topic that relates to a matter over which this public body, library board, has supervision. And I don't see anybody, and we do not have a phone, do we? Okay. Then let's move on. Okay, item number 4, approval of the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Trustee Markle, I move to approve the minutes of March 13th, 2025.
Thank you. I can always count on you.
Vice Chair Lucas, I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. It has been approved. Item number 5. Let's see, what are we doing here? Sorry, I don't have my glasses. Okay, item number 5, we are going to talk about the direction from the library board on the process and tools for completing the director's annual performance evaluation. That is due June, correct? But they want it earlier? And I love it.
Sorry, when I was drafting this timeline, per DA Tolley's recommendation, I came up with what it was more clear, I think. And in doing so, I realized that the May timeline was not going to be realistic. So in the last few years, we've done it in June. And so long as we are done at the beginning of June, that will give us plenty of time for it to get over to HR and for them to have it all done and over the finish line before the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
So what happened a few years ago when I was still deputy is that it was after the July 1 date,
Okay.
and that makes it really difficult for human resources and for finance.
Okay.
So as
can
long
we
as we
go
get
through
it in.
the timeline?
Yes.
And if
So-
we need to revise, we'll write that down because I'm going to be a stickler about this.
Okay. So as you guys know, the library director is meant to receive an annual public performance evaluation on or before July 1st of every year. And I'm asking for directions from the board concerning the processes and tools to be used to inform this appraisal and evaluation. So I propose the following process. 1, that I will submit an annual self-appraisal form that I will send out to each of you separately by May 1. That was part of the hang-up, I think, last year when I went back and looked at the agenda and kind of what happened with the minutes and things. I went back and read the minutes from last year, and I think part of what made it difficult last year was that I didn't get my self-appraisal in soon enough. And so I want to make sure that I get it to y'all within plenty of time, and I'll send it to each of you separately so we can avoid a sidewalk quorum. And then you will have that to inform your performance of the evaluation. So this is something that every employee with the city has to do or is expected to do, is a self-appraisal.
Okay.
Any questions about that? Okay. So also, as you guys know, in the past, we've always done a 360-degree review, which is conducted to gather feedback from the library staff using the following steps. So the board chair will contact the Carson City Human Resources Director, Jeff Colum, sitting right here. Thank you for being here tonight, Jeff. And you'll reach out to him by April 17th to request that HR initiate the disbursement of the anonymous review form to each library staff member.
Okay,
So-
I'll stop you right there for
Okay.
just a second because I do have a question. Um, and thank you for being here. We really appreciate you. My first question is kind of procedural, but can you email me your contact information, like tomorrow, so we can get this going?
Yes.
I would appreciate that. And then, on the 360, are there any additional wording or changes that we can make to that? And it's really simple. For instance, the questions will say, what did we talk about? Let's say the question says, has the director, we were talking about,
Yeah,
any specific one,
one
sorry.
of the things that we discussed was having some sort of notice at the top to remind everyone that this evaluation is for the entire evaluation period.
So starting with thinking back on the last 12 months, has the library director or have you, to, yeah, kind of prompt them to not just think about the last couple of weeks, but to go back through the whole year and be a little bit more thoughtful. And I'm just wondering if we can do that.
Yes, absolutely. And if there's any other questions that you want to ask, just let me know. And so you should have in your minutes from last year a copy of the evaluation, which would, I believe it wasn't in, I believe it was in the minutes.
It is, but
Um,
I can also send a copy
ah,
to each of you
so
again,
you'll
which
see all
was
the
my plan.
questions.
with my
And so the questions address all the competencies that are addressed in the evaluation form. So yeah, just let me know what other changes, but I have that change noted, a note to address the whole evaluation period and kind of introduce each question saying for the last 12 months.
And I'd like to open it up to everybody else. I know you weren't here last year, but, and we don't have it in front of us, so I know I'm asking on the top of my cuff, but is there a question that any of you would like to see on there that we've never seen?
This is Trustee Markle. Is there any way that the employees could, on each of these individual anonymous feedback forms, could there be a question asked like, what would you like to see the library director do in the future, or something along those lines? Not do, but accomplish, initiate, words like, is that appropriate?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that if the board is in agreement.
I mean, it's just an opportunity, and I know the strategic plan is coming up where they do have opportunity to provide feedback then too, but just to, just another opportunity for people to sort of like look to the future and see if there's anything that could be to provide. And it, I mean, this is obviously is to provide feedback to the person who's being evaluated. Does it make any sense to do that?
Can I ask, is the question that you want to ask what they would like to see the director do for the library?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I can see here people, if the question is, what do you think the director, should be doing? And the answer being, not making us do stuff we don't want to do,
Yeah. I'm trying to think of words that would, that would advance the future of the library, that would, that things that the director, I mean, and it's not going to be a list of things, but, ways the director could engage the community more effectively. I don't want to be,
We got to give them some direction, though.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to be mean or anything like that. It's just to give the individuals opportunity to share some of their thoughts that maybe they haven't shared before.
and or encouraging them to think those thoughts.
Yeah.
Right.
Something along the lines, what direction would you like to see the director take? What direction would you like to see the director take the library in? I mean,
Well, direction isn't necessarily the word I would use, but I think I've gotten the concept across. If, the human resource expert can wordsmith that.
I wonder though if that really does belong in a performance evaluation or if it isn't
Right.
more of a strategic plan, future goals and wish list sort of a item. If we're asking someone to please review the director's performance for the prior 12 months, I don't know if that fits it. I don't know if that accomplishes that goal, right? Is the performance evaluation designed to ask for a future boss wish list? Like, I,
Well, I would like to just a thought on that. I would like to point out the evaluation form that you have in the staff report. So the evaluation does address the future. It does address future objectives that you like to see in the next evaluation period. So while it does review the past, it also focuses on going forward for the future. So if that helps.
But
But that's for us, that's not for the
Correct.
employees, correct?
yeah,
But
that's a
Yeah.
self-evaluation.
Well, there's a self-evaluation and then there's the evaluation form
ours,
that
the-
you complete.
That's our evaluation.
And
Right.
so if you are looking for feedback from staff to help address future objectives, then maybe it could be appropriate. But otherwise, if you're just trying to assess, how, get a picture into the library for the last 12 months, then maybe just keep it to that.
This is a trustee case. I wasn't here last year, so I didn't see a copy of the last evaluation. Are there any open-ended questions at all that are on the form for the 360 review? Or is it all like multiple choice or?
No.
It's definitely questions like, for example, do you believe that, could you rate from, strongly disagree to strongly agree, that sort of
Gotcha. But so there's nothing
balance spectrum.
that's really an open-ended kind of question.
I feel like there is, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Now, each
Yeah, there
question
is.
though does have, so for example, I remember last year, and I remember it vividly because one of the questions was, do you believe that Director Holt has an emphasis on customer service or, provides good customer service, something along those lines. And I'll never forget because people were making comments, right, which is to me, one of the most valuable parts of the whole thing. But one person said, absolutely not, she doesn't care anything about customer service. And then like multiple other comments were, yes, and went on about it. So it was like the contrast of that is like stuck in my head. But that's an example of how people can give more information and give more feedback, even though it wasn't an open-ended question.
I understand what you're saying, and I think that feedback is really valuable too, on the teaching evaluations, as from the college. The comments sometimes told me more than the standardized questions. So, and it was really helpful to get that feedback. So that's why I'm asking the question.
So, since this is an evaluation of Joy, what if the question was more on lines, do you feel the Director Holt is taking the library in a, well, you don't like the word direction, but leading into the future?
and make the question not have a scale also, because aren't all of our questions, there's like a ranking and then a comment period? Like, how would you rate that? How would you put a
Right.
scale or a ranking?
Well, I
on a
think
question
that's
like
actually
that?
probably would be interesting to not have a scale and have it be sort
box,
of
just a
open-ended.
box.
Yeah, like the nature of the question is, because there is no scale, that there's an expectation that an encouragement, an implicit encouragement that people give a hopefully thoughtful response, right?
The question could even be something like, is there anything else you would like to share? Your thoughts or feelings about?
I think they already have that, don't they?
Yes. So each question is grouped into the competencies, and at the end of each competency, there's an opportunity. There's a question like asking for comments on that competency, and then at the end, there's a place for general open-ended comments.
Okay.
But if you wanted to formulate an open-ended question to direct responses, we could do that as well.
I have a question for DA Tully. Based on the fact that last year's evaluation were in our minutes and our public record, and it's relevant to this conversation, are we allowed to just go to our website, pull up the meeting minutes from last year and look at those questions real quick? Is that appropriate?
Yeah, you can do that. We'd need to include those minutes as late material.
Oh, okay,
We'd
I
have to
see.
post that after the meeting, but
I see.
it'd be
Okay.
fine to do that.
So I'll defer to if anybody else feels that there's value there then.
I think there's great value in that. If we could pull those up, Joy,
Okay.
we'd appreciate that.
We don't have to revisit like the responses, but maybe just the
Look at the
question
questions real quick.
categories or the questions themselves.
If you don't like direction, do you like the word vision?
Yes and no. Is pretty big, and sometimes people can't they can't always visualize a vision. But if there are certain opportunities that they think the library should be involved in, which would involve leadership from the library director, that's kind of what I'm looking for. Not necessarily a vision, because I mean, the library has a vision. There's
Right.
vision in the strategic plan. It's just sort of, it's kind of a, I don't want to call it a throwaway question, but it can provide some additional interesting information, but it's not the final evaluation of Joyce's performance should not be contingent on what people want to see in the future.
Right.
It's just a little extra information on the direction of the library, the future of the library.
How did you do that? Oh, well, you got your tablet.
I went on the wrong day.
Yes, the categories were communication, customer focus, personal behavior.
Trustee Olivas, was it LEAP materials? Oh, yeah, it
Yes,
is.
yeah.
Okay, thank
Decision
you.
making and problem solving. So I mean, there's quite a few questions, and the categories are pretty good. There's a ton of comments.
Here we
Can you
go.
bring that up on the screen, Joy?
Oh, yeah, isn't that?
No.
That's weird. Okay. I don't know what happened there, but
Um,
I'll make it bigger if I can too. That's too big.
Remember those?
Mm.
Yes. Your favorite.
Okay. Is that big enough, y'all?
So, yeah, okay.
So we have categories and then we have components of the categories that have ranking. And then within each category, there's like a free-form feedback area is what I'm seeing.
Yes.
So there is the,
Communication. Okay, so
Mhm.
what are the different categories? So I see communication.
I'm scrolling. Let's see.
Okay.
And you notice under each bar graph is the label of the specific question that was asked.
Customer service. Okay. Really wouldn't fall under that.
Just trying to think of what we're discussing fits into any of these existing.
Correct. That's what I'm trying to figure out too. Okay, so the next one, please.
Oh,
Oh, planning
might
and
go under here.
organization?
maybe. Or maybe, are we able to add questions to a category, or are they set for all city employees and need to remain the way they are?
We're the only organization in the city that does one.
Oh, okay.
So we could add questions if you want to.
Because maybe it goes in that category.
That's what I was thinking. If we could.
But then it would require a score, I think, if we put it in that manner. Versus like just add at the end as a bonus.
Yeah, what does the end look like, Joy?
Oh,
Oh,
leadership.
leadership. Okay, wait,
That's like team leadership, sort of.
hang on. Provides necessary. Sets appropriate goals for the future of the library?
It seems like this question is more about staff, leading the staff, right? As opposed to objectives or vision for the library, to me anyway. About leadership. Seems like all of the choices there have to do with being, leading the staff.
Mm-hmm.
Management, yeah.
Personnel, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe if we don't want it ranked, it does need to be another question at the end. Otherwise, it would be subject to the disagree to, to strongly agree.
What's
scale.
at the bottom here? I mean, can you scroll down some more or up, whatever way direction it's supposed to be?
Oh, other.
Other comments. I'm just looking at other comments, but maybe a more directed comment.
Like another one in between those two before we get to the totally random others at the bottom?
Or, I mean, these are the others. So if there was something that had to do with the future of the library, that's kind of what I'm looking for.
I'll just jump in real quick. Adam Tully for the record. So a couple of things, and this is mostly to be helpful, very light on the legal advice in this part, but this board itself is the policy-making entity for the library in general, right? So, and Joy is the chief executive, right? So in terms of broad policy about the vision and direction of the library, it's really your province, right? That's why you guys approve a master plan. That's why it comes to you, it's not Joy's. Joy doesn't approve the master plan, right? She helps execute it. She helps get it ready to go and brings it to you, and you guys approve it, comment on it, revise as you see appropriate. If you wanted to get broader input on direction for the chief executive, and you want to do it in the format of a personnel evaluation, it might be better you could do it in an open-ended comment like this, but it might be better to direct staff to see if they have suggested objectives for the upcoming evaluation period. And then you could look back at that. If any of those objectives that you agree with, you could look back at it at the subsequent, or not the subsequent, at the next performance evaluation period. That might be a simpler way to do it.
Or do you think that we could build it somewhere into starting our strategic plan process? Because that's not cemented either, is it?
Meaning,
I just feel like I'm still not sure that it's relevant to the performance aspect. I feel like it might still be more of a strategic plan item.
If it's specific to Joy, I don't think it should be in a strategic
Okay.
plan. If it's specific to Joy, and it's an objective for the upcoming evaluation period,
Mm.
I think you you could probably do that and it would make sense in a personnel evaluation rubric.
Okay. So as in, what other objectives do you think might be relevant to the future performance? Yeah, it just seems a strange thing to ask the employees of their boss to me a little bit, but I can see the value. I'm just trying to understand like where it fits and how it's appropriate to ask it.
And I may be misunderstanding you, but I'm just mulling it over my head. So we do have, oh, I thank you for your input. So we have this strategic plan. We do direct her on what we want her to do. But so the question is, though, how well she executes that?
No.
Okay.
I do not believe that that kind of comment at the end, I like that suggested objectives, makes sense. I do not believe that those suggested objectives should have anything to do with the actual performance evaluation. They can be, they're part of the record. So for the next evaluation, you can look back at those, and I mean, you can look at the comments, and maybe they don't have any value. Maybe they say, I think the lights in the parking lot should be brighter. I mean, it's a suggested objective. Is it important? Maybe not. If there's an objective that might say, if there's a suggested objective that might say, I would like to see the library director spend more effort on getting a small satellite library facility for people in another area of town or whatever. That's something that could be looked at. I'm not looking for anything that has immense weight. It's just kind of, sometimes we don't always think about what we can do until someone mentions something we can do.
No, I get that, and I appreciate that. But it seems to me that would be more when we ask them to help us with a strategic plan. I would like to see a small satellite library. Again, that would be something that we would direct her to do.
Those
Right?
questions, we don't have, I mean, those questions are going to come from the consultant. And yes, we probably have some input into them. It's not exactly what I'm looking for, but if no one else agrees with me, that's fine.
No, we're trying. I just want to make sure that HR has a clear direction and that we're all comfortable with a question, new questions for her evaluation. That's all. So that's why I keep trying to pull more out. Trying to think, we'll get this in there for you. I just
Well, I hear, I think I understand what Trustee Markle is getting at. It seems like what you're asking or what you want to get at is what the staff would like to see to improve the library or library services. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, because then we have to, that informs how we phrase the question so that we're not getting responses that are, more of a critique of my leadership style or me, or, because I think what you're trying to get at is what things the staff are thinking about bigger picture. Like, are they thinking about bigger picture? And if they are, what are those things that they're thinking about, right?
Yeah, and this is the opportunity to maybe share something like that. I mean, people aren't going to write a paragraph. It's going to be a relatively quick comment that helps. I like what you said. The bigger picture. Yes, bigger picture. Sort of.
So maybe something like, what library services would you like to see the director
Focus on.
or
Explore.
explore? That's a good way of putting it. So then that, I think, might deliver the message of, this is about library services, like, what is your opinion, staff person, as to what we should be doing? And so maybe the answer will be, we should have more makerspace hours, or we should have more of a library of things, or that gives them I think what you're trying to get at is giving them the opportunity to express their ideas.
Right, and that's why I mentioned a directed question that could, help elicit some of those kind of responses. I mean, somebody's going to say, everything's fine, or somebody's not going to respond at all. But, somebody might say, let's, let's see if we can't plant some flowers in the library garden. Explore, focus on, those are good words. Does that make any sense?
I understand what we're going to, and I think it would be a really valuable question, but I fail to see how it's related to a performance evaluation at all. I just don't know that this is where it goes.
If you are looking to direct comments, maybe you could come up with a question like, what are suggestive objectives you have regarding the identified competencies in this survey for the future? And so that would then go back to the competencies like problem solving, leadership, and things like that.
But those comments are already in the individual topics. And I'm not looking at it necessarily for maybe I'll call it the integrity of the 360 performance evaluation. I'm looking at it as, this is a time that the library director gets evaluated. These are the things that have been set forth in this type of evaluation. And here's something extra that can help your work in the future. You, as the library director, can, not have to, but perhaps might provide exploratory opportunities for the future of the library, which I understand that it's not really, like I said, those comments should not be contingent, or the evaluation should not be contingent on those comments. It's just an opportunity, that's all.
But then they shouldn't go in there. That's like saying we know it's unrelated and it shouldn't have any bearing on this. And
But it
that's why
is
I think it shouldn't go in there. Like, it feels separate and unrelated to me. And then think too that this is going to be part of our public record of that meeting, and it's not really relevant to her performance from the last 12 months. It just feels like that's not the place to me for that.
This is Trustee Case. It kind of sounded to me, Joy, like when you rephrased the question, that made it sound to me anyway, more like something that would be in a performance evaluation, because it was tied to the services and what you were particularly focusing on or developing. So I think my personal opinion is your rephrasing of the question seemed to tie it to an evaluation much better. I think that was helpful if we're trying to get that into an evaluation, that phrasing was helpful.
I only remembered exactly what I said.
I mean, overall, if we need to add a question, I'm not going to stop it. I just personally feel it's out of place in this process.
Yeah, I wish we had makes me want to come up with a new survey just for the employees. I think a survey for the employees, asking them all sorts of questions like this would be very good for us.
Well,
when we'd learn a lot.
That gets done in the strategic plan, right, Joy? Yeah. I mean,
Yes, it does.
There's a separate survey.
And it's done over and over again. I mean, we do the initial surveys with staff and, that are more of a traditional format, kind of like very much a survey. So then we have that data on paper, but then each time we meet to refresh it, we also have that opportunity for all of the staff to provide what library services they think we should be adding, or or focusing on, or what developments have they seen out in the library world that we could reasonably, put into place. Or it's also just an opportunity for them to express what they have been thinking. And we always have the option of doing a traditional survey every year with the staff. I think we did do it, if I'm remembering correctly, we did do a second survey with the staff, but we could always do that as part of our strategic planning process. Because we do have the survey that we send out to all of the stakeholders, that we have available to library users. We post that on our website, on our socials. We have paper copies in the library for them to fill out every year, or every other year. And so we could easily do something like that for the staff specifically as well. But then we also spend an entire, we spend either a full day or at least, 3/4 of a day working with the consultants and the staff to come up with, to come up with the objectives and goals and all of that. And then we reevaluate them every year. So that's their opportunity to also speak. But if there are those who aren't comfortable, then we could certainly have them fill out a survey that they could submit anonymously with their ideas. Does that answer the question?
Thank you.
It's okay. We don't have to do anything.
I just feel like we've been talking on the record about, we want this question, but we know it doesn't really quite fit in with her evaluation. So I'm not real comfortable putting it on her evaluation. But I think it's a great idea. I think the question's a great idea. I just think,
This is a time to ask a question, but because they're already filling out questions. But, if I'm more than willing to concur with the rest of the group that we don't need it, or that it's not appropriate for this type of evaluation.
do we want to take a vote on it?
I think it's an action item.
Okay. Well, it says
So-
possible action, discussion, and possible action regarding the direction. So I just,
Oh, okay.
so I didn't know. if
As
we-
long as the action is whether or not to include it in a performance evaluation,
Yeah, that
that's
was-
fine. I wouldn't go any further than that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Okay.
is Collectively, we all make that decision. So, but if you don't want to vote on it, we can keep going.
Just for clarification purposes, so what I'm hearing is at this point, we would just revise the evaluation, the 360 survey, just to clarify that their answers are for the last 12 months. Is that
Correct.
the only change at this
Mhm.
point?
Yes.
Thank you.
And you'll email me, and then I will, as soon as you email me, so I don't forget, I will email you back, and I will request you initiate the review for the staff members.
Okay, so I'm going to move to the next section. The HR director will disperse the requisite form to each library staff member by April 24th, 2025. Each library staff member who wishes to participate must submit their request to HR by May 8th. That gives them a couple of weeks. And really, from what I've seen with the responses to surveys of this type, everybody either responds in the first 2 weeks. The numbers don't change a whole lot in that third or fourth week in terms of responses. The HR director will then forward the responses on to the board chair by May 15th. The board chair will then forward the responses on to each board member separately by May 23rd. So that gives you a week to turn it around. So, you don't have to do it the next day after you get it. And once, I will also, you'll have already been in contact with Jeff with proper email address and all of that. I did change your email.
Thank you.
Hopefully you got all of that.
I did.
Timely.
That was awesome.
Okay.
I was like, there it is.
And then I didn't put anything in here about the paperwork that I then, because there's a disclosure of that is required to be provided to me that I'm going to be getting an evaluation in 15 days. And then I've waived it in the past, but it seems like with this time frame, we'd have plenty of time to turn that around.
We'll figure it out one way or another,
Okay.
but yeah.
Okay. So that's really something with that DA Tully and I will work on. So then the next step is each board member will individually and separately complete the unclassified employee performance review form. And I attached that here so everyone could see it. And then each board member, and you guys, I will send you the Word version
Okay,
that's
thank you.
fillable, so that each person will have that. Because the PDFs reflect, like, they just work better with the agenda system that we use called Granicus. So I won't, but the Microsoft, the Word form is fillable. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'll send it to you, Chair Nichols. And then each board member will then send their completed performance review form to the board chair by the end of May, so May 30th. And then the board chair will aggregate the unclassified employee performance review forms from each board member into a single version of the form. And that will be that's what will be presented and discussed at the monthly board meeting on June 12th.
And what day do you need it to put it in the packet?
A week before. Preferably. Now, I can always add it as late materials, like I'm going to have to add the what we just went over as late materials. And I can always do that. And that's what I did last year as well. But
I
it would
give
be,
myself a tight deadline.
yeah, it would be preferable to have all of that so that I could see it beforehand also.
Right.
But also, that's not a requirement. So,
Okay. So just, what we did a couple of years ago was, the chairperson took everybody's evaluation and didn't put everything together, grabbed something from each of them and made one evaluation.
Right,
That we
that's-
presented. So you're
yeah, that's what
so
I
we're
mean
not
by
gonna be reading
aggregate.
from 5 different evaluations, right? Yeah, so I just want to make that clear. So when you see it for the first time, you go, where's my note on that? Hopefully I take the most relevant ones and put them in there and then come up with one. So it's a collective, something we've all done together. And then we evaluate her and we discuss. I know the first year that I was here, I brought my own evaluation too, because at the end, if you had something you wanted to say and it wasn't in that evaluation, I just remembered I wanted to share something. So, okay. So it's not as painful as it sounds. It's really not. There's just a lot of dates that things will have to be turned in by. So,
And then also, Mr. Quillen will be there on the day of the evaluation on the 12th, right? Or
Yes.
an HR representative will
Yes,
be there.
a member from HR will be here.
okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Come on.
Well, it's June.
Okay. So moving on now, I believe, to item number 5B.
Or
No.
one moment there, that's an action item. So it'd be good if we can have a motion.
I think I put something in there, so let me go back to what oh wait,
I
hold on.
did see that, and I
There's
thought
a
that was
proposed motion in
wonderful.
the staff report.
I thought that was kind of awesome.
Well,
Okay,
that was
so-
all DA Tully guiding me.
No, okay, that's great. How about,
Yeah, it's there at the top. Do you see it?
right. Okay, do I have a motion? Do I have a motion to approve the annual performance evaluation process proposed by staff as presented.
I will move to approve the annual performance evaluation process proposed by staff with the small modifications we discussed. I love to say that. All right.
Trustee Olivas, I second.
Thank every.
All in favor?
Thank you. All in favor? Sorry.
Aye.
All opposed? That's all I was getting was all opposed. Okay, motion passes. Yay. All right, now on to item 6A. Library Director's Administrative Reports.
Do you guys want to go over any of these? Do you want me to pull them up and look at them, or?
You can pull them up if you like.
Okay.
Did we talk about was it the gift fund last time? I don't remember.
Yes.
Thank you.
And this has all of our, the budget pulled forward, right? I see the revised budget column. What is it? The augmentations are all in here now.
Yeah. And they usually, I don't usually do any augmentations for the general fund, because if I have to change, because in the general fund, we pretty much have a budget for everything. Once there's money in there, at the time the budget is built, then I can move funds around with a journal entry if I need to. I just did that actually. And then for the gift fund, that is the one that requires augmentation to pull the funding forward. And so there it is. Let me make it a bit larger. And this is where you'll see the Friends money being spent. So like community program, that's programming, that's Friends funding. The collection, the Friends of the Library, that's a Friends funding. That's our lease. So you're going to see that go down because we just finished paying the rest of it. Let's see. Books and periodicals, that's our regular gift fund. All of the other things besides the Friends donation. And the undesignated amount is just an amount that allows me to move funds from one line item to another if I need to. It's just kind of a, for lack of a better phrase, a slush fund. I mean, it's money that is not designated to anything, but I can take money from there and add it to any of these other line items that we need it. And then the unreserved fund, that's to make sure that we keep a buffer for ourselves, really. And then Capital City Reads is, you can see that that's spent. And it looks weird because of the encumbered amount hasn't met up yet with, we had an encumbered amount in there. And then of course we spent the other half of it. So it looks funky right now, but you can see how they're very close numbers. It's because we've spent the whole budget. And then the digital collection, that's all of the funding that the Friends have provided for e-materials and audiobooks with the Overdrive platform, and then the summer reading. So as you can see, we have a long way to go for summer reading, but we're about to finalize all the prizes and all of the supplies and whatnot that we will need, because this money needs to be spent before the end of the fiscal year. And so next month, you'll see those numbers come way down. So we're cooking with the gift fund. And then the grant, let me see. I've got so many things up here, I can't remember what's what. There we go. And then the grant fund is mostly the GoEd money with a little bit of collection development funding thrown in. So we're full steam ahead with collection development. That has to be spent before the end of the fiscal. And then you'll see with the grant operating supplies, that's a large amount that's in there and a large amount that's been spent, but it's all budgeted per the terms of the interlocal agreement with GoEd. And then it's up to me to make sure that I'm making because everything gets put into operating supplies. So when you have multiple grants, you really have to keep a spreadsheet to make sure that you're spending the money from the right grants, which we've done. It's collection development's easy because it's not very much. So, any questions about any of these?
No, I'm just a little surprised that, I mean, good for you, that on the grant fund, it's like 37% you've used,
Hmm.
and we're in March, so good job.
Thank you.
My budgets with the states, they've already used most everything, so.
Well, and it's by nature because it is the GoEd money. We're going to see it diminish more slowly because it's over a 2-year period.
Mhm.
So, but and with the collection development funding money, we try to spend that pretty quickly so that it's spent and we can do the whole have it over the finish line and have all of our all of the stuff that we need to report back to the state. So I'm going to move on to my report. So we do have one senior library assistant position that is going to be filled with a promotion, but it's not completed yet. And then we will have one senior library assistant position open. We have them open and 2 library assistant positions open, and those have they've either posted today or they'll post tomorrow. And then the workforce development and social services coordinator position is going to close, and we're going to proceed with interviews. And then here's a list of the programs coming up in April. We do have what's called Comics Plus now, and it's had a lot of action. So a lot of people have accessed it, and we are having to sort of promote that. We're having the Draw Your Own Comics event. That was actually on the 7th, and I can't tell you what the turnout was, but there were quite a few kids in there. And on that note, before I forget, we recently, today actually, were able to do an overlap of the attendance we've had in our teen zone, and we've tripled every year since we began working with the consultant, and since we changed things in there, we've tripled our numbers for every month. Listening to the kids, changing up the space, making it more teen-friendly, asking them what they wanted. And I mean, it's the digitorium, but it's more of a teen hangout space now. And we've accommodated that. And we really have listened to what they want and what they need. And it's spread. But it took a long time. But
Yeah, I was thinking that you tripled the use within the digitorium at same times. It's like you had 3 programs in there at one time instead of
no, I'm sorry. No, we've tripled the
yeah,
amount
that's
of
my
the
misunderstanding.
amount of attendance in the digitorium during those teen hours. Because it used to be, we had 2. And then we've just seen, now we've done a lot of reconfiguring of that space, and it's still underway as we work with our consultant. And this is a really tough demographic. So tripling the number of attendants in a few years is
Impressive.
good. I'm sure there are others out there that have done more, but this is a win for us. We have to keep our expectations reasonable. But I anticipate that we're going to continue to see that number grow, or at least stay as full as we are now, because we are like at least 2 or 3 times a week every seat's taken. And so that's a good thing. We might need more seating, but we also have to keep it versatile enough that people can use it for a meeting room. So,
Joy, do you have any idea if those kids are going to the Boys and Girls Club Teen Center as well and coming to the Digitorium?
I don't.
Just be interested. So I know that they've grown over there too. So.
Yeah. I think that the word has gotten out, and I think that kids are really looking for something to do, and we are very well placed geographically. But also, I really do think that looking at it from a human-centered design perspective, and what do the users want in that space, and what would they need, and then also, I mean, we basically have styled it. Well, we have styled it after a drawing that one of the kids who came in is who's an artist. It just happened to sync up with what our vision was as well. And so we've been able to really highlight that person's creativity, but the message that it also sends to the other kids is we really are listening to you. And we continue to do that within reason. So we did ask them to participate. We have a suggestion box. They make good suggestions. We asked them to participate in renaming the Digitorium. So because the Teen Zone is a temporary name. We didn't get the most PG-13 suggestions. So there were some kind of, they were a bit reminiscent of crank calls, or prank calls that you would have made back when we all had landlines. I'll leave it at that. So we're going to probably give that another go. And because we wanted to send the message that it's a teen space, but it is catching on. So we're just going to keep on trying and growing and trying to stay on top of what they like, what brings them in. So, and I also think that by necessity, sort of necessity is the mother of invention, right? So we weren't and aren't able to staff it every day. And so they never know when we're going to be in there and when we're not going to be in there for the duration because it's random. And then we just stuck with it. Now we've just stuck with it being random. So when they come in, they don't know. And we've also had it sometimes when they have early outs, we will have someone in there for the first half of because they get out at noon, and then no one for the second half, or vice versa. So the randomness of it, I think, has been pretty effective, actually. It's unpredictable. So, and that just happened by necessity, but we've kept up with it because we saw that they were pretty consistently behaving themselves on those days that we're not in there. So, because that was a concern, we had some theft and things like that when we didn't staff it. But I think having it sometimes staffed and not staffed has curbed that. And then this is National Poetry Month. So we're doing book spine poetry. We're having a poet come and speak. She's actually there right now. And then, of course, we're doing a Emily Dickinson poetry program. We're trying to do some programming on Sundays. And I think we're going to build up some interest because they've been pretty well received considering it's a Sunday and we're only open 4 hours. So we'll see. And then we are going to be moving our computer classes to Sunday because we have switched our technology coordinator, James Wernett's schedule so that we have a manager on duty every day. And as it happens, his attendees were happy with that. So, and then we are going to be having that poetry writing workshop. We did one last year. We're doing another one with Nevada Humanities. And I would say if you're interested in participating in anything associated with Nevada Humanities, get it in now.
would say do it now.
Yeah, because they've, so far, they're not going to have any funding. And just a quick update on that too. We're still waiting to hear whether or not the LSTA funding for fiscal year 25 that hasn't been dispersed to Nevada already has been rescinded. That's what happened in California. 20% of their fiscal year 25 funding hadn't been dispersed, so they lost it. And it's happened in Connecticut and Washington and Oregon, and I'm not sure about Texas yet. So I'm not sure how they're choosing what states they're rescinding the money from. But if they do rescind money or don't send any if they don't provide any sort of budget for that LSTA grants, what we will lose is databases that the state provides. And the ones that will affect us the most, and I know because we've paid for them out of pocket before, is LinkedIn Learning and Beanstack, which is a program we use for our reading challenges, and we will pay for those on our own. So we will try to keep it as any loss of those databases, I will try to keep those as seamless as possible, because we know we have to have LinkedIn Learning. It's tied into the Nevada Career Explorer. It's tied into the workforce development position, and we've paid for it before. So we know what we're getting, what the financial commitment is. And Beanstack, same. We had Beanstack at the Carson City Library for many years before the state started paying for it. And we had a LinkedIn Learning as well. So we will continue to pay for those. The others, we probably won't even be able to come in the ballpark of affording the EBSCO, ABC Clio packet, but we can look at it. We can also hopefully get some statistics on how much of that our users are using. So,
Just so you guys know, that LSTA or the LSTA money for the databases affects the schools as well. Those databases won't be available at the high school. That's EBSCO and ABC Clio and the World Book Encyclopedia. There may be things that the school district chooses to pay for, but those are the research databases.
yep.
And, our government is.
Right. And I would also strongly encourage you to keep an eye on the two assembly bills that are moving through the process right now in the legislature. One is AB 445. The other just came down. I forget what the number is. But it is to codify the prohibition of book censoring, book banning. Lyon County is going through this right now for real. Their director is facing calls for her to be fired. Their board is going through some transition. Community members have come out in droves. From what I understand from the library director, their collection development librarian's being called a pedophile. She's receiving death threats. She's being called a pornographer. And it's tied into a group nationally that they extract excerpts from books, and then they have a database called, I think it's Book Looks, where they deposit that information, and then folks from different organizations. In the case of Lyon County, it's a church group that have extracted those excerpts from the books and demanded that they be removed from the shelves. And it's also very much focused on school librarians and school libraries, and prohibits librarians, both in school and public libraries, from being held criminally liable for material that's on the shelf that folks find offensive. The good news is for us, it also purports to direct the Nevada State Library Archives and Public Records to create a model for libraries to follow for book reconsideration requests, which we already have. So, but we can, I think it probably needs to be more finely tuned
Is
in
there-
terms of who's going to evaluate the suggestion, the reconsideration request. So,
Is there any word from the governor? Sometimes he comes out ahead and says, I will veto that. Do we have
No.
any heard? Okay.
no. So, and the thing is that there's two of them that are very similar language. So we shall see. But we're keeping a close eye on it. The city's PIO is working with me on that, our legislative liaison. And then also Nevada Library Association is keeping us abreast of what's happening. And the state library occasionally lets us know what's going on as well. But mostly it's the Nevada Library Association's government relations member, who is Diane Baker. And she's keeping a very close eye on it and keeping us abreast of what's going on. So that's what's happening out there. And then we're having our annual Easter egg hunt. And guess what? We're going to have the Easter bunny. And hopefully, and I'll speak to you really quickly, Adam, about a question I had about something else. So I'll keep that. We wanted to have some other things, and I'll speak to DA totally about that. And then Making a Magical Creature Reading Dragons reading program is still going on, and we're using that as a reading challenge, a passive reading challenge between our different reading challenges that we have. So, and that's the program that functions a lot like Pokemon, where you get the cards for reading. How do I put this? We've diluted it a little bit because it was really becoming a little bit unwieldy. And so we've tweaked it a little bit to keep it, to sort of make it more manageable for everyone. So, and that's all I've got.
Does anybody have any questions?
Joy, could you send us the other bill number? I got the AB 440.
Yeah, you know what? I've actually got it. Let me check my.
Some false sleep reading.
It is. I'll check my email. Thank you. Mm. Okay. It's AB 416. AB 445.
And if you want to keep abreast of it, or if you want them to know how you feel, there's always a couple of ways to do it. You can write a letter, and sometimes they attach that, or the day they're talking about it, they will ask for comments, and you can comment.
Yeah, it's interesting. They've gotten some. It's had I think there was about 8 people who were opposing, and then on the 416 and 445, there was not quite equal number of people in support, but the oppositions were short and the supports were long. So.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Okay, and then moving on, we'll go to item number 7, public comment. So if anybody here at the public would like to make a comment on any topic that relates to a matter, you can do so now. Again, we don't have a phone. I don't see anybody here. So we will, I feel like we're missing an item. Sorry,
I think you missed 6B.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, wait, I'm missing something. Let's back up. Okay. Yeah, item B, 6B, trustees report, announcements, and requests for information. And now is the time you can let us know if you want something on the agenda or if you have something you want to tell us. Go for it.
Will we be looking at the strategic plans soon?
Hopefully. Yeah, I can't guarantee because it's not 100% on my plate, but yes, I expect that we will. Hopefully by next month.
I have, well, let's see, a request for information so we can put this on the agenda for next time. So
Okay.
I would like some information about the workforce development program and the media. Are we letting the media know about this at all? That kind of thing.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking me for.
Okay, so we have this workforce development program,
Right.
right? And it's active going right now.
Right.
So has Tammy reached out to the media to let them know this is going on?
Yes.
Okay. So can we kind of talk about what she's done? And then
Oh, okay, sure.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I would like that. Thank you. Okay. That's really what I want to see on there. Okay. Well then, if nobody has anything, how about, again, public comments? There's nobody here. So how about we go to 8 and we adjourn? Thank you, everybody, for being
Thanks,
here.
everybody.